kind of normalized hands.
All right, well, let's get things underway here in round 3. 3 Edgewall Innkeepers and an Overgrown Tomb along with the Rotting Regisaur. We're going to see a mulligan from Jordan Cairns. That's a little bit better. We have a Scry off the Temple of Malady. We've got 2 Order of Midnight to start pressuring in the air. And we've got Great Henge and Vivian Arcboast. Now, this deck is pretty much the exact same as Chris Kavartek's, correct?
Very, very close, yes. Yeah. Some minor cosmetic changes, but yes, for the most part, what Jordan and Chris Kavartek are trying to do is very much the same insofar as they are taking aggressive slants to their Golgari decks, whereas Ali is taking a much slower approach with her Golgari Adventure deck. Nowhere near as aggressive, more of a card advantage engine deck. And of course, you see that with the Lucky Clover in hand, exactly what this deck is attempting to do.
Well, I would love to see this Lucky Clover pay off because we haven't really seen it just yet this weekend. Like Maria said, I'd love to see the 4 discard. I'd like to see Smitten Swordmaster actually do something. It's kind of felt a little underwhelming throughout the weekend so far, but with 3 in hand, maybe they can get the job done this time.
Yeah, that is certainly the hope, is Ali's going to come across there for 1. The Order of Midnight, of course, cannot block, and now there is Rotting Regisaur. So what's interesting about the Regisaur here in this particular game is there's some incentive to play this on turn 3, and then Great Henge after that, or try to set up a turn that also involves Vivian. So the attacking with Order of Midnight is pretty straightforward. What happens next will be very interesting, as Jordan is certainly thinking about it.
Oh yes. Myself personally, I would love to get Great Henge down and resolve before Casualties of War start ruining my day, but Temple of Malady is going to be the play, and Questing Beast is on the top of the library. He's going to keep that there. Order of Midnight is the draw for Ali Warfield. Also hanging out with those 3 Smitten Swordmasters.
Yeah, tough spot here for Ali because no 3rd land. Kept a 2-lander with Lucky Clover, plenty of Smitten Swordsmiths, an Order of Midnight, and then a Casualties of War to play towards over the course of the game, which is very good in this matchup. Unfortunately for her, did not find the 3rd land drop, so we're going to head back over to Jordan, who has picked up a copy of Questing Beast, as you mentioned, scryed that to the top with the Temple of Malady. And now do you deploy the 4/4 Haster, or do you go towards the Planeswalker?
I kind of like the Questing Beast because Vivian needs something to do, right? And putting counters on the Death Toucher is always a good time.
Certainly can make the argument that this play makes a little bit more sense, also because Ali has missed a couple of land drops, so you can certainly reason with yourself if you're Jordan, let's just try to get this game over with before Ali's able to draw out of this. Questing Beast does that faster than Vivian does in most instances, so no problem with deploying the Legendary Beast and starting to get some damage in.
Overgrown Tomb going to deal 2 damage to Ali as well. It's not something you want to do when you're facing down a Questing Beast and a Flyer in these skies. What can she get done here with the hand that she's got?
Well, you know, at the top, Paul had mentioned Murderous Knight. I did the same. Murderous Rider, and the Swift End portion of that card is the more important of the 2. She has no copies of that. You know, she's got all these Smitten Swordsmiths, Casualties of War, which we're 3 lands away from, Lovestruck Beast, which is fine but not great, but she's deploying creatures that also really can't block all that well. So Smitten Swordsmith does have some real work to do as far as the adventure is concerned.
Well, just padding the life total a little bit there with the Order of Midnight Knights that are on the battlefield. So, you know, they are getting some work done there with the Lucky Clover. Temple of Malady was the draw for Jordan. So now it's going to be interesting to see what he decides to go for. I mean, Arcbow, counters, trample, death touch, that seems pretty good, doesn't it?
It's really hard to pass up playing Vivian Arcbow Ranger, activating one of its abilities, and then using Temple of Malady as your last order of business for the turn. Of course, you're going to distribute some counters here. On the Beast makes a lot of sense. Get in some damage. Order of Midnight can't block. Token's not going to be able to block Questing Beast. Here's your Scry.
I don't think we need a spare Vivian.
Well, that's interesting that we're going to keep that on top.
All right.
There is the ability here for Jordan to activate Vivian's plus and then play the next one.
Yeah.
Keep that one and plus that one as well.
But even so, she's very choked on mana. There's nothing else she can do here besides deploy a Lovestruck Beast. If that even blocks the Questing Beast with the counters on and the Death Touch, he's just going to trample through for the victory.
This is true. But Jordan doesn't know what Ali's hand is. Jordan knows that Ali has a lot of cards, but isn't doing very much and missed a land drop. So it stands to reason, if you're Jordan, that, hey, well, Ali probably has at least 1 copy of Murderous Rider in hand. She's playing 4. She's probably got a removal spell. So Vivian will let me play a longer game, even if my Questing Beast does die. But as we can see here, and everybody can see at home, that's just not true.
Can she pad her life total enough to the point that she stays alive here? That's the question. So Smitten...
I mean, is there... Can she race?
I think so. I think that's what she's got to try here. Otherwise, she's just dead to a Questing Beast. So there we go. Curry Favor ×2. Doubling with Lucky Clover. Oh, there we go. Down to... Oh, there we go. That's lethal.
That is it.
Oh, wow. I totally missed that. So finally, we get to see Lucky Clover doing what it's supposed to do. That was awesome. Ali
was barely able to hang on, and so now it makes you question a little bit about Jordan's use of Vivian there, because Vivian could have shot down those copies of Order of Midnight. Those were Knights. And I think Jordan thought about that a little bit before distributing those +1/+1 counters and racing. Ends up Allie's able to win because of, finally, Lucky Clover.
We finally get to see just how impactful that card can be. You know, I bet you that's the last thing Jordan expected was 3 Smitten Swordmasters in hand. So.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise there. So Jordan's going to do a little bit of sideboarding here. Was trying to race in that last game unsuccessfully. And this is really bad news here for Jordan. I'll tell you why. Yeah, that particular game, we're putting a lot of onus here on Murderous Rider and the Swift end portion of that.
Yeah.
Allie didn't even cast that card that game. She also got stuck on 2 mana for a turn. Found her 3rd land, was able to start operating, but she didn't do anything outrageous that game and still was able to win.
And did that all with 3 mana.
Yeah, so now Jordan's got the uphill climb of having to win 2 games after sideboard, where Allie's deck arguably gets better after sideboard than Jordan's does. So bad news, Jordan needed to win that game.
He did indeed, but Allie picking up a rather fancy victory indeed with that Lucky Clover and the adventure creatures. So while the players get their sideboarding done, it is Allie Warfield versus Jordan Cairns. If you're just joining us, day 2 of Mythic Championship 7. This is round number 3. Let's jump right back into the action and see how this all shakes out.
Allie is having one heck of a tournament here.
Hell yeah.
She is one of the few players that is sitting at 2-0 right now. One of 7 that's 2-0. And Allie, she's starting to really put up some results. A Grand Prix top 4 in Indianapolis earlier this year, now playing in this tournament in day number 2, which was her goal coming in. Setting some new goals now. I didn't know if to start 3-0 was one of the goals, but we are 1 win away from doing that, that's for sure.
Well, let's see if she can keep surpassing even her own expectations. As we get things underway with the Temple of Melody, we're going to scry, put something to the top or bottom. Let's see, does she like it? To the bottom it goes. Temple of Melody in response as well from Jordan Cairns, finding a Order of Midnight off the top of the library.
What to do?
It's not the worst thing in the world, considering those proc the Edgewall Innkeeper. I wonder if he's looking for land, or if he's looking for a questing beast, or something along those lines.
Yeah, you know, interestingly, not your favorite card in the matchup, because, again, I think if you're Jordan, you just have to put stress on being the aggressor. That's your biggest deal. Now, you will note that last turn he did not play Edgewall Innkeeper, had the ability to, did not. So what he's likely going to do on his 3rd turn is play Edgewall Innkeeper plus Order of Midnight in the same turn to ensure that he gets to draw a card.
But that Legion's End looks mighty nice, doesn't
it? Does look pretty nice right now, so he's going to play that. But
reveals the hand, gets rid of 2 Edgewall Innkeepers. That's pretty good.
That's not a bad exchange. Again, it is a little bit surprising as he picks up this information on what's going on in Allie's hand. If he's going to stick with this play of not deploying Edgewall Innkeeper, then he has to do it through and through.
Yeah.
You know, if he's not going to play it that last turn, then he's not going to do it this turn either and expose it and have it get killed and not draw a card.
If he does find a land, he can go Edgewall Innkeeper, Order of Midnight, Falmire Knight without playing their adventure.
And then draw all those cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, and hopefully set up for a pretty decent Rankle on turn 4, or even Vivian. So let's see how things shake out here. Midnight Reaper deployed for Allie Warfield, and there's another Vivian Arcbow Ranger off the top for Jordan. Here we're going to see Edgewall Innkeeper with possibly some adventure friends.
Yeah, I like starting here because you'd rather save Order of Midnight if you can. Now I'm actually a fan of playing the land and the Order of Midnight to draw another card.
Yeah.
We'll see if Jordan actually wants to do that or not. Note also that he drew a Swamp, so he only has 2 green sources of mana right now, so the 2 Vivians are not something he can deploy at the moment. I do not believe it behooves Jordan to play a long game against Allie given her deck construction. So with that in mind, if I'm him in this spot, I do want to deploy Order of Midnight. It's a flyer. It's good in this spot, and I want to be racing my opponent.
Nice.
And there's the 3rd source of green mana. That's a big deal, that overrun,
All right,
too.
that gets him set up pretty well. Lucky Clover off the top, so we could see some additional 1/1s generated off the Lovestruck Beast. Also, Murderous Rider, importantly, can now deal with 2 creatures with Lucky Clover on the battlefield once she finds the extra mana to cast it.
And this is part of the reason, that if I'm Jordan, I don't want to play a longer game. If we play a longer game and Allie has a Lucky Clover, I cannot win.
No.
The card advantage that is generated by that card, as we're going to see it happen here, is just a little bit too much. As Lovestruck Beast, and more importantly, Heart's Desire is going to generate all of these 1/1 humans. And as you mentioned with Swift End, it's not once, it's twice.
Yeah. If she finds another Lucky Clover, she gets to kill everything. It's almost like Casualties of War, just with, you know, a little bit of extra steps involved.
Now, this is a good spot for Rankle and the discard aspect of it. He does have a land to throw away in the basic forest because he can play Rankle. Overgrown Tomb tapped is the last card he can play for the turn. Makes a lot of sense as a 5th mana that enters the battlefield tapped. And he doesn't know, well, actually, he does know that he's going to get rid of the Murderous Rider given the Legion's End earlier in the game. So this is a very attractive attack.
Oh, yes. You definitely want to get that Murderous Rider out of hand, so let's discard. Allie needs to find a way to gain some card advantage again, so hopefully you're going to find one of the other 2 Edgewall Innkeepers that haven't been exiled. And looking pretty good for Jordan so far. Drawing
Yeah.
a land with the top, it's not what you want to see.
This ends up being a beautiful turn there for Jordan. For Allie, a forest is not ideal, as you did mention. Now, Midnight Reaper and all these tokens, I think Jordan's going to take this hit entirely because, well, okay, if you want to trade with the Midnight Reaper with the Foulmire Knight, that's totally fine. I'd be a little bit scared to give Allie a card here.
Yeah.
Because Jordan's pretty all in on this Wrinkle right now, and if
Yeah.
Allie were to draw a Murderous Rider, it'd be bad news. It's just a basic swamp, though.
That's okay. It's all right for Jordan. He dodges a bullet there. Here comes Lovestruck Beast, #1, and Thrashing Bronzodon. So that's a good answer for the Lucky Clover. That can at least shut off the additional copies of the Adventures. But first and foremost, let's get Vivian Arcbow Ranger down on the battlefield and start getting some counters on these flyers.
Yep, and I like this a lot here. Let's get some counters on these flyers. This can be made into a 2-turn clock pretty easily. Does he want to go 1-1 or 2-0? Looks like he's going to go 1-1 on the distribution and flying here for 7 points of damage. Allie's down to 7, facing lethal in the air next turn.
More discard?
Don't think we need to do anything with this.
Okay.
If Allie had a spell she was going to play, she would have played it last turn.
Okay.
So you're okay with just doing nothing with Rankle. You don't want to discard any of your cards. You don't want to allow Allie to draw a card. So let's just pass the turn back.
Now here we see where Smitten Swordmaster's not that great because there's no knights on the battlefield, so Curry Favor doesn't do anything for her in this situation, so better just deploy it as a creature, get the other Lovestruck Beast down, but there's not much she can do in this situation, unfortunately, with these flyers.
Yeah, as good as Smitten Swordmaster, pardon me, was in game 1. It is that bad here in this particular game. You're going to see some beatdowns here with Lovestruck Beast and friends, but not a lot going on here for Allie Warfield, unfortunately. Not the ideal top deck, as it looks like she's just going to play the Swordmaster and pass the turn back.
Murderous Rider, we've been talking about in the whole game so far. Making an appearance, but he's not going to be needed in this exchange. The Flyers will get the job done here for Jordan. And we're going to go to game #3 between these two Golgari Adventure decks.
Now, this is actually very interesting here because Jordan is thinking about what could Allie have. Allie didn't play a spell last turn. This turn, she played Smitten Swordmaster, which would make sense for that to be her card last turn that she didn't play. And Jordan doesn't know that Allie's card is just a swamp. So he may potentially overthink here. Now, if he just attacks with everybody, we know the game is over, and he finally comes to that conclusion. But he was thinking about it, and I think it was smart to think about that, because when Allie didn't play anything last turn, sure, we know it's a land, right? But Jordan doesn't know that, and it would make total sense if Allie's holding that Swordmaster and saying, well, if I draw something, then I can adventure it and, you know, double up with the Lucky Clover and everything. So he thought about it, made the attack, won the game.
Yeah, I like it. Play to win, don't play to not lose, basically. So here we go, sideboard times. Let's see what goes in, what goes out. What would your approach be here if you are Jordan Cairns going into the third game?
I still want to take an aggressive approach, but I do know that my opponent is on the play this game, so I do want to change things up slightly. You'll see Rotting Registers are in the sideboard. Duresses are also in the sideboard. One card that I do love that he has in his deck right now is Find Finality. He also has that single copy of Return to Nature in his deck as an answer to a Lucky Clover. You're hoping that lines up appropriately, which means, of course, that you draw that when they have Lucky Clover as opposed to drawing it when they don't. But I like his setup here, but he still has to keep an onus on being the aggressor in the matchup. He does have tools if he goes late. I already mentioned Find Finality. He also has a copy of Casualties of War, but continue being the beatdowns here.
Yeah. Also, he's got the Massacre Girl if things get a little out of hand.
Yep.
So hopefully that lines up for him as we go into game #3 between Allie Warfield and Jordan Cairns. Allie is on 2-0. Jordan is on 1-1, looking to get to that 2-0. Let's take a look at these opening hands.
Well,
2 lands, 3 Vivians. That's not great.
Nope, this is not it. He's going to have to send this one back, and I think he knows that, so he immediately does that. This is better.
Yeah, some removal. We got Murderous Rider, some lifelink. On the other hand, though, looking at Allie's, that's also pretty darn good.
Yeah, this hand's okay for Allie. You know, this is a hand that's certainly missing an Edgewall Innkeeper for her, but she does have her copy, one of her copies, pardon me, of Lucky Clover, so that's a card that she can rely on in this matchup, as we saw in the first game. Didn't have a huge impact on the second game, but the Clover is here, and it'll be interesting to see how the game goes when you have Foulmire Knight and Order of Midnight already rolled up.
So Foulmire Knight, she can draw 2 cards with that, so hopefully finds a Edgewall Innkeeper. There's a Lovestruck Beast, so that's also a very good way to generate some extra value on the board.
And this is part of the reason that Jordan has left in a little bit of artifact removal, because, again, if we play a longer game, Lucky Clover is going to bury him in card advantage. So he needs to continue to be the aggressor in these matchups. Vivian, is a nice draw here. He's got the green sources to deploy it on the 4th turn if he wants to go that route. But I like the idea of going towards probably Lovestruck Beast here and just, again, be the beatdown.
Yeah. Get out. get the job done as quick as he can. Because as you mentioned, Lucky Clover can run away with the game if it's left unchecked. So Filemire Knight's gonna draw 2 cards, ping her twice, finds a Smitten Swordmaster, and another Forest with Massacre Girl. Okay.
Massacre Girl does not line up perfectly here, unfortunately, for Allie.
But with a bunch of 1/1s on the battlefield.
It's starting to get a little bit better.
good.
You know, a 1/1 and a 5/5 is not going to do it as far as clearing the battlefield is concerned. But a couple of 1/1s, okay, sure. Now we're starting to get a little bit, little somewhere, pardon me, in this game.
So here we go, Lovestruck Beast on the battlefield too. There's an Edgewall Innkeeper. Okay, so now how important is this going to be going forward? So we got a Lucky Clover versus an Edgewall Innkeeper. Which would you rather have, Sarah?
Innkeeper, I will. It's all built around construction of deck.
Yeah.
So for Allie, I want Lucky Clover. For Jordan, I want Edgewall Innkeeper, but I don't really want it right now. So that's a card that, now that I've drawn that, I'm going to file that away as something I'm going to use a little bit later. Right now, I'm looking at Fabled Passage plus Vivian.
Yeah.
Lovestruck Beast, let me fight your Lovestruck Beast, and let's start attacking. And I think that's where I want to start this turn and see where we do go from there. Now, you could also make the argument, of course, of Vivian plussing on the Lovestruck Beast and making it a 7/7, because that's going to put it out of Massacre Girl range.
Yep.
However, as we've talked about many times and we will continue to, that does nothing against Murderous Rider. But do you even care to play around Murderous Rider right now when your opponent has a Lucky Clover? You might just have to say to yourself, well, if they have that, I just can't win anyway, so let me just act like that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Fabled Passage going to get cracked to find the Forest. And does he go for Vivian Arcbow Ranger?
I think it's the best thing to do. 1, 2, 3. And what's also nice here for Jordan on the next turn is that he has Castle Lockbane in hand, which will give him his 3rd source of black mana, so that Noxious Grasp plus Swift End in the same turn is also an option. So as far as using all of his mana every single turn, he's set that up very nicely. The plus here on Lovestruck Beast making a 7/7 is nice because now Vivian's at 5 as opposed to 1 if he'd minused. So the chances of Vivian making it through the turn, pretty high. So you have to like that here if you're Jordan. Now, the one thing he is questioning, and understandably so, is, am I supposed to attack?
I kind of want to say yes, because if Allie wants to kill it, that's every single creature on her side dead.
It is.
If he blocks it or lets it through, sure, the Lovestruck Beast can attack, but then you just chump it with the 1/1, and then Edgewall Innkeeper re-enables his ability to attack. So, you know, I don't hate an attack here. Like you said, he's got to go fast. Or he's dead.
Yeah, he has to continue, as you mentioned, he's got to continue to be the aggressor. He has no choice. If we play this game over an infinite time, Lucky Clover is going to bury him in card advantage. And sometimes it can win the game very quickly, as we saw in game 1. So what I also liked about Jordan's play this turn is he is acting as though his opponent does not have Murderous Rider in hand, because if Allie does, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah.
2 copies of Swift End is just going to be way too much for him to overcome. So you cross your fingers, and you hope they don't have it, and you play the rest of the game assuming they don't.
So Filemire Knight on the battlefield now. This can block a Lovestruck Beast. Not the trample part of it, though. We're going to curry favor for a little bit of extra life there to pad her life total. We still have the Noxious Grasp up available to take care of this Lovestruck Beast, too. And yeah, 1/1. Going to block the Lovestruck Beast. Vivian stays alive. And now, interested to see if she'll fire it off now, or just send out the Smitten Swordmasters. Hanging on.
I'm totally fine. I like Allie's play here of just holding on to the Noxious Grasp. Also, worth noting, Lovestruck Beast can't attack right now.
Nope.
There's no 1/1 on the battlefield, and you take a look at Jordan's hand.
Here's a question.
He's got Edgewall Keeper. That's
If this Edgewall Innkeeper gets deployed,
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing you kill, right? Because it just shuts off the Lovestruck Beast, or do you kill the Lovestruck Beast?
Good question.
What's more important to kill?
I would probably kill the Innkeeper.
I'd get out of the way if I were you.
All right, so yeah, you can tell by the look on his face there. He
does not like how he
did not
sequenced the
play
turn.
his 1/1 before the attack phase, so missed out on an attack there.
Yep.
Unfortunate for him.
Yep.
But here we're going to see the Edgewall Innkeeper in the second main phase.
That is a huge, huge misstep for him. You can see he's frustrated.
Yeah.
This game isn't over. He can still get this game
Yeah,
back.
no, he can. He can. He just needs to regroup his thoughts now. And just keep going. Order of Midnight's going to get a card off of the Edgewall Innkeeper, finds a Forest. Noxious Grasp in hand for Jordan, as well as for Allie, who's going to deploy it. What is her target? It's going to be the Lovestruck Beast.
Okay. And now if Allie wants to, has the option to Massacre Girl away everything.
Yeah.
Not convinced that that's the right play, but what I will say with regards to that is if Massacre Girl takes care of everything, it takes care of the Edgewall Innkeeper. I'm going to stop talking now because what I'm saying doesn't matter anymore.
It always seems to pitch up in her hand at the most opportune moments. Hello, casualties of war. She didn't even hesitate there. She's just like, yeah, okay, I want to play this. Let's blow up some stuff.
I wouldn't hesitate either.
No, like, oh, do you kill this, do you kill that? Screw it, let's kill everything.
Yeah. This is beautiful. Vivian gone. Edgewall Innkeeper gone. Castle Lockhane's probably going to be the target here as well to take care of the utility land. So Casualties of War is an ace here for Ali Warfield.
Indeed. So Massacre Girl could have been the play, but instead we're just going to get to work now with these 3 1-1s on the battlefield. We got Lovestruck Beast off the top for Jordan. He can at least rebuild his battlefield somewhat. But yeah, that was an excellent turn for Ali. Indeed.
Yeah. And again, this is the reason why Jordan cannot afford to play a longer game. And now Swift In has been drawn here by Ali Warfield. That's not 1 copy, it's 2. And that can clean things up pretty cleanly. Smitten's Sword Master looks like that's going to come down pre-combat. That's just not easy to say.
Sword Master.
Sword Master, okay.
Master, yes. All right, so we got Murderous Rider, Order of Midnight, and Massacre Girl in the holster for Ali if things get out of hand, but that is a Massacre Girl of Jordan's own. Oh, goody.
Yeah, so this is one of those spots where Massacre Girl is not... it's better for Ali than it is for Jordan.
Yeah.
Because, Ali hasn't deployed hers yet because she hasn't found the need to. You're going to see Swift In here. Lucky Clover is going to copy it. So, again, this is the combination that Jordan does not want to play against ever because it's the old 2-for-1.
Is now a good time to Massacre?
It's fine.
It's fine?
It's fine. I mean, it's better. You have no battlefield, so your hand is kind of forced.
Here comes Massacre Girl, gonna get to work on all of these itty-bitty 1 toughness creatures. And now it is just the Massacre Girl hanging out by herself. There's an Edgewall Innkeeper, so that can get some extra cards for Ali.
Yeah, but the reason, if I'm Ali, that I'm not concerned is I have an Innkeeper to rebuild, along with Order of Midnight, and to start bringing things back in the graveyard.
Yeah,
and
totally
continue to play a longer game. Also, I can just deploy a Massacre Girl of my own if I care to.
Yeah.
And while Ali is at 6, she needs to be a little bit careful here. Her life total is not that high, so she can't do anything too crazy. She's still doing totally fine in this game.
She just needs to get bodies down in the way of Massacre Girl, 2 at least, obviously, because of the menace. So probably eyeing out that Foulmire Knight.
I mean,
ideally, she doesn't want to put the Edgewall Innkeeper in the way of it.
What's interesting here is you can play Edgewall Innkeeper, and then you can deploy some other threats in addition to that to be able to start drawing some cards with the Innkeeper.
Yeah, Swordmaster, Foulmire Knight, perhaps?
Yeah, that's all an option right now. Now, don't forget Massacre Girl does have Menace.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to double block it in order to get it off the battlefield. Foulmire Knight, does have Death Touch, so that would like to be involved with the blocking. But there is still a chance, even though Jordan made a slight misstep earlier in the game with that Vivian and Lovestruck Beast turn, for him to win this game. So I think he's done a great job of recomposing himself and still playing to the best of his ability, even though he's starting to get in some hot water here.
Okay, so now we're seeing Lucky Clover doing the shenanigans with a life gain, but we still can't block Massacre Girl, and there were mistriggers off of a potential Edgewall Innkeeper. So why do you think she took that line?
I'm curious. I'm not quite sure. But here comes some damage. I mean, that was better to set up, as you're going to see Return to Nature take care of the Lucky Clover finally. That was better at setting up Smitten Swordmaster with the Curry Favor. So I think that's why we saw that particular series of plays, because it brought Ali's life total up to 10 as opposed to sitting at 6.
Yeah.
So now she can do stuff with Edgewall Innkeeper if she'd like to.
Or do we just go for the, I would like to wipe the board now, please. Swing in, get some damage in, wipe it?
So that would be 1, 2. That would clear things up, I believe, if Ali plays her own Massacre Girl.
Yeah. Looks like we're just going to go for the Order of Midnight, bring back the Lovestruck Beast. And now we're going to see the Edgewall Innkeeper deployed. Probably just along with, I don't know, it could be Murderous Rider or Lovestruck Beast.
I mean, there are options. Ali does need to tread lightly here.
Yeah.
There are ways for this game to get taken out from underneath her. And she's starting to build an advantage that Jordan's not going to be able to come back from. And I think he realizes that. But he also realizes that there are draw steps that can win him this game and steal this game for him.
Yeah. So now this is good. We've got a 5/5 blocker along with a Death Toucher. So that would be the only thing that dies to a Massacre Girl attack. Order of Midnight going to swing in for the 2 points of damage. Can't block anyway, so may as well. Murderous Rider. Oh, it hurts so much to kill something now, doesn't it?
I mean, you don't love it, but you probably have to do it this turn because you do
Yeah.
have 4 mana spells that you can draw on your own turn that you want to cast.
Yeah.
Something like a Questing Beast, something like a Vivian. Like, those are cards that you want to draw and play. So you have to fire this off now. Lovestruck Beast is a pretty obvious target. So this is Jordan's biggest draw step in the tournament right now.
All right. What's he get? That's a swamp. It's not great for him. He gets a life linker out of it, so that's not the worst thing in the world. We're going to see a double block here from Edgewall Innkeeper and Falmire Knight. Both will perish, but equally so will the Massacre Girl, and here comes Murderous Rider.
Yeah, it's a whiff for Jordan.
Ooh.
It's a huge fade for Allie. Allie's got to be thrilled. Epic Downfall is not a bad draw step here. It's not the best of the bunch, but it's fine. Massacre Girl's still an option. You see all of the cards that are under Adventure that are an option as well.
She's just got so much card advantage. Hui. All right, so a very, very close game between Allie and Jordan. Will that misstep with the Lovestruck Beast come back to haunt him? Here comes Smitten Swordmaster. Swinging in, does the Order of Midnight. Down to 4 goes Jordan.
Yeah, Allie's tapped out for... well, she could deploy the Order of Midnight if she'd like to.
She worried about another board wipe, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only real concern. Do I need to continue to develop my battlefield at all to be able to win the game on the next turn? And I don't think so. I like casting Epic Downfall here. See, the life total's 4 to 6. Allie's hugely favored. That is why you didn't deploy that next threat. Allie Warfield.
Okay, so talking about board clears, this is one of them. A lot of stuff is going to die now.
A lot of stuff may die here. It may be Finality. This is why Jordan took a look at his graveyard, is because Find has plenty of options down here. Now, unfortunately for him, he cannot cast Find and Massacre Girl in the same turn. He's a mana short of doing that, even if he does play his land. Lovestruck Beast down in the graveyard, Edgewall Innkeeper down in the graveyard. Finality can sweep it, and that's his best option right now, is to clear it all up and hope that Allie's kind of out of gas outside of that Order of Midnight, but we know there's a Massacre Girl, and now there's a Midnight Reaper.
So 3 creatures to an empty hand on the other side of the battlefield for Jordan.
There just wasn't a lot for Jordan to get back there, unfortunately.
No. Could have maybe gone for like a Edgewall Innkeeper and an Order of Midnight or something, but even so, you can't block with that, so it's not great.
That's
not great either, and that's going to be the game.
Well, let's see here. So this is going
wait, we'll bring things back first.
Yeah, so this isn't... We're not done here by any stretch. No. Alter Fate can get back Lovestruck Beast and X. X could be Massacre... excuse me, can get back 1 card, and Lovestruck Beast, I think, is probably the best, because that makes 2 creatures to double block Massacre Girl.
Yeah, so still alive. He needs to draw something then on the next turn, so still in this for 1 more turn.
Big draw here for Allie. Swamp is not what she wants. So Order of Midnight was not a bad draw. Order of Midnight can come across in the air. I mean, this is...
So just keep attacking in the air, don't even send in Massacre Girl?
Well, if you send a Massacre Girl, you get double blocked and you just lose your Massacre Girl to Lovestruck Beast. So the only reason that you would want to do that is because then you remove the 1/1 that's on the battlefield for Lovestruck Beast, so it can't attack next turn unless Jordan top decks, and you probably don't care about Jordan top decking a 1/1 creature. So Allie's got to think this through, and Allie's also got to decide if she wants to deploy Midnight Reaper pre or post combat. Those are her decisions right now.
So here comes Midnight Reaper. Just in case things die, we'd like to draw cards, but also it's a risk because if a lot of things die, that's extra damage to the face you don't necessarily want to take. Massacre Girl will get blocked, the 1/1 will die, but more importantly, 2 points of damage in the air. Jordan is down to 2. Midnight Reaper pinging Allie, drawing a card. That's an Overgrown Tomb, another land off the top for her.
Jordan has lock draws. That is...
Questing Beast.
He is,
Ooh. Ooh.
He's a point short.
He is.
He's a point short.
Oh, man.
He's a point short in Order of Midnight. He's a point short in Order of Midnight cannot block.
Oh, man. I love it when a Questing Beast is ripped off the top, but unfortunately, he is not a big enough boy to get the job done. Needed a Vivian or something just to buff him up.
Yep.
Order of Midnight's going to make its appearance, but this other Order of Midnight is just going to get the job done here for Allie. What a very, very close game between these 2 Golgari Adventure players. Congratulations to Allie. Advances to 3-0, Cedric.
An amazing, amazing start for her. Her goal was to make day 2 of this competition. She barely got that done. Beat Chris Pakula. Chris Pakula in the final round yesterday to do that, and now she is making the most of this day 2 appearance. She is 3-0 among the top names in the room and 1 step closer to making it to Sunday.
My goodness me, this is an absolutely insane start to the day for her. You got to feel for Jordan, though.
A tough game. A very, very tough
Yeah.
game for Jordan, unquestionably. And though he made that slight misstep with the